Hello, I am Paula Guarin and I am the Director of Market Research and Insights for Visa in the Latin American and Caribbean region. It's a pleasure for me today to share with you our results for the Travel Intentions study. In addition to all the traditional research methodologies that we have at Visa, we have a community with this space with more than 900 participants in 7 markets. We cover Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, Peru, and Dominican Republic. And with this study, we had the objective of understanding the travel intentions of our consumers during the time of this pandemic. For this specific study, we have participation of 437 consumers, and we conducted the study in November 2012. The segment of this study is bank population with access to internet, socioeconomic levels medium, low to high, men and women 20 to 55 years old. Let's start with the results. This study is the second wave. We conducted the first one back in June and the second one in November. So we are going to see the more updated data from November, but I'm gonna share some comparisons versus the June wave. And actually, I would like to start with this result from June, when consumers were still in the middle of lockdowns in many countries with restrictions. And this is interesting because we asked them, okay, what is the activity that you miss the most? And 61% said that what they missed the most was traveling. And what is interesting, I think, is the comparison with the other activities such as restaurants, theater, parks, and coffee. The gap is pretty big from that 61 versus the rest of what really shows us is that desire of consumers for traveling. So back in June, I could say that the intentions to travel were very, very high, were actually higher than in November, because many consumers thought that, after the restrictions were lifted or after lockdowns were ended, they will be free. But as things progressed, they knew that the virus continue, and I guess this report now in November show us like more realistic, intentions. Now, in November, what we saw is that most consumers from the study have not traveled since March. We have 72% of consumers that have not traveled, 27% that travel locally since March, and just 2% of consumers who travel abroad. And among those consumers who travel, directionally, it seems that the affluent segment or the affluent consumers are the one with higher travel since March. Now, what are their intentions to travel in the short term? And here is where I see a very, very segmented group. We have responses in all the 5 points of the scales, from very willing to not willing at all. And what we see is that the intention to travel is also higher among the affluent segment, shown here in the bar below. And here we have some verbatims we have directly in the local language that illustrate some of these results. So what is saying here in some of the verbatims is consumers saying, yes, we need to travel, my family, and, we need to really go out, change the environment. So we really want to travel some place close. Or some people that are saying, I'm motivated to travel since, I don't know what I'm gonna, face in the place that I travel. So as we see, different opinions. Now, when consumers think of the word travel, then a series of conflicting emotions arise. Before March, when we thought about travel, it was about excitement. Now, yes, that excitement continues, plus that desire, since we saw that this is what consumers miss a lot, but now also the fear of the risk is there. So we also have here some comments of people saying, yes, I would love to travel, but I'm afraid to do so. other people here from Chile saying, yes, it's something that I should enjoy, but I should avoid it for now. So a lot of conflicted emotion of consumers wanting to do it, maybe waiting, others really wanted to do it with all the precautions, or some others with fear. But now let's see how those intentions change by the destination. Let's start with local and beach destinations. So first, the willingness to travel by car in the next few months is pretty high. 57% of consumers have intention to travel by car to a local destination by January 2021. And this, I think, is what remains compared to the study in June, is that a high intention to travel locally by car. And how we ask this question, and you will see for all the report, so we ask for consumers the intention to travel, in this case, for example, by car locally, and the answer options were December 2020, January 21, then all the months to, from February to December 21, one option about the vaccine available, or one option about not intention at all. So what we are showing here is the responses where we get concentration. It doesn't mean that we don't have responses in the other options, but what we are showing is where most of the responses concentrate, so we really can show like a trend, or where the majority of consumers' answers are. Now, in terms of local beach, what we see is that intention to travel to a local beach is higher than traveling to an international beach. And we see here the willingness to travel by January 2020 to a local beach is 34%, higher among the affluent segment. So it's already a trend that we have been seeing through several questions, affluent with higher intention, compared to just 3% for willingness to travel to international beach to January 2021. However, intention increases, for intention to travel when the vaccine is available, or in the months after January 2020, including, Easter week, June, July intentions to travel. Now, for air, international, and sea travel. So when consumers think about traveling by plane, what they really expect is that the airlines adopt strict sanitary and social distancing measures. They expect all employees and passengers using masks. They expect sanitation protocols both in the terminal and the airplane, temperature checkpoints, social distancing, and availability of hand sanitizer everywhere. So, what is the intention to travel locally by airplane? Is 26% by January 2020, 20% when the vaccine is available, and 28% by January to December 2021. Again, the intention to travel among the affluent is higher compared to the mass population. So affluent consumers are slightly more inclined to fly in the short term. Now, international travel is considered riskier for consumers. So the willingness to travel is lower compared to the one that we saw for local travel by airplane. So by January 2020, it's 6%. It increases to 33% for when the vaccine is available, and 28% for the rest of the months of 2020. Something else that consumers, especially from the mid-low socioeconomic level, mention is that also their economic situation is an additional barrier to travel. So we are going to see that now discounts and even low prices become even more relevant. Finally, for a cruise, most people are really not interested in taking a vacation in cruise right now. 41% said I'm not interested at all, or 32% are saying we are waiting for the vaccine to be available. Now, in terms of lodging and reservation, it's interesting that is very segmented. 49% say I prefer a hotel, and 39% say they prefer a rented house. And with the qualitative answers and that qualitative analysis that we did with consumer responses, we saw that the the drivers to choose a hotel is that consumers expect that they have strict protocols for, sanitization of the spaces. They prefer like a small to medium-sized hotels where there will be less concentration of people. But some consumers that prefer a rented house say, I prefer it because it is um, a space only for me or only for my group of people. So what is important here, independent on the choice, is that the driver is how consumers feel safe. Similarly, for the destination they choose, like the beach that we saw, especially a local beach that has like a higher intention to travel, is because they are feeling safe. Now, how they make the reservations. And what is interesting is that we found that consumers say that they have not changed their preference. So these answers they mentioned is pretty similar to what they did before March 2020. So 43% will continue doing their bookings through a specialized travel webpage, 36% directly on the airline's webpage, 34% on the hotel webpage, and 26% through a travel agency. And now, what benefits a consumer will value the most right now? And answers are pretty concentrated on the discounts and low rates, both for airfares and hotels. So, as I was mentioning, some consumers, are also having like an economic barriers toward travel. So this is why these benefits also come into an important place. So to summarize and close the report, we have three main findings. The first one is that as the pandemic continues, consumer travel intentions are really segmented. We saw a group that are really planning to travel in the short term by January 2020, high intention to travel locally by car or local beaches, and we saw some others will prefer to wait for the vaccine or future dates to travel, especially to resume that international travel. Second one we saw is that travel intentions are higher among the affluent segment. For the non-affluent, we saw that the personal economy is another barrier to plan a vacation. Budget is tight, and this is why low prices, discounts on air tickets and hotels are very valuable benefits. And the third one that is not surprise is that consumers value sanitization policies from the travel industry, both for airplane and lodging. This becomes the number one attribute with making, in the consumer decision journey. And it's not surprise, it's for the travel industry, but I guess it's for a lot of industries now. So with this we finish. I want to thank you for your time and hope to be with you soon. Thank you. Bye.